Hey folks, I've heard remembering a forgotten skill is sort of like riding a bike, but sometimes that bicycle is a machine that travels through time and relative dimension in space, which is much harder to steer. Ready to get on board? Let's play some head games. Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is the Zombie Apocalypse, and as I was walking in the streets of Atlanta, I found this blue police call box, and I got invited in, and they just called me Steve there.
A call box, like a box that has a phone in it.
Yes.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it looked pretty old.
Hey there, gang. I'm Jetterx. I was gonna tell a joke about time travel, but you all didn't like it. Presently, they call me Tim.
You're right. I don't think I did like it. Thank you for joining us today on the Head Games Commander Podcast, where we spotlight some of our favorite commanders from Magic the Gathering. But before we get started, I would like you guys to do all the wonderful YouTube things. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you're listening to on your podcast stuff, hit all the follow buttons there too, because I want to become rich and famous, and I can't do it without you. Tim, who are we shining our spotlight on today?
Today, we are spotlighting the partner combo of Joe Grant and the Sixth Doctor. Which, by the way, sounds like a pretty badass band. I can't get over it. Like, if I'm gonna have maybe it's a ska band, you know, with the horns. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Ska's making a comeback, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think we should make there was a cover band joke that I knew, but I don't remember it anymore, and it makes me sad.
Man, time travel's really messing with us today.
It really has been.
So in this episode, we will describe the deck strategy, share what we love about the commander, highlight some of our favorite cards in the deck. So today's deck was built by my very good friend Steve, a Zombie Apocalypse. Both of the commander pairings are from the Doctor Who Commander Precons, the same one as well, right? Those were technically in the same precon. Yep. So I'm going to let Steve kick us off today, telling us who is the commander, what is the Rule Zero bracket conversation like.
All right, so the first commander and the most important commander is Joe Grant. She is a 3-mana human soldier. Each historic card in your hand has cycling for 2 and a white. So cycling, it says discard that card, draw a card. Whenever you cycle a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Joe Grant, and she has the ability Doctor's Companion. You can have 2 commanders in your command zone, other than as long as the other one is a doctor. And then the next commander is the Sixth Doctor. He is 4, a green and a blue. Whenever you cast a historic spell, copy it, except the copy isn't legendary. This ability triggers only once each turn. So just to clarify, historic is artifacts, legendaries, sagas, and are all historic spells. So there's actually a hidden commander in this deck, and the card is Astral Slide. If you played Standard back when I did, you know all about this card. It is a 3-mana enchantment, a 2 and a white. The enchantment says, whenever a player cycles a card, you may remove target creature from the game. If you do, return that creature to play under its owner's control at the end of turn. This is a cycling deck, folk, if you couldn't figure out by all the things that say cycle on it. And Astral Slide is just an amazing engine that you can build around. But my bracket talk about this deck is a very hard 3. It punches up to 4 a lot of the time. It doesn't look like I'm going to be doing a whole lot in the very beginning of the game. And then my value engine happens. And that value engine's hard to disrupt. So that's what I talk about in the beginning of the game. There is 3 game changers, and I do bring that up. I don't really tell them what 3 game changers are, but I'll tell you guys it is Rhystic Study, what's his Seaborn Muse, and I closed my deck list, which was the worst idea. So, and then the other one was Enlightened Tutor. We got there. We figured it out.
Yeah.
We got there.
Yeah, I think that is probably because we talk a lot about how the bracket system, how there's a technical answer. It fits into this slot based on the very letter of the guidelines within the brackets, but there's also kind of a kind of, I don't have a better word than a spiritual version of that, or a kind of, it aligns with the spirit of what they were really going for with the brackets. And I think this definitely fits into the three, because for a number of different reasons, not just because you built it in that area, but because it's a very synergy based deck, and therefore if you're not getting the right half of your pieces, it may end up not functioning quite as well. But I think it is very strong in the three category. It can definitely keep up with more powerful decks.
All right. So now that we kind of talk about the bracket talk, we're gonna go ahead and go into the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. Tim, you were alongside me when we built this deck on our way to Chicago the last time, and then we kind of finished it off on the way to Atlanta, and then you saw it play once. So, Tim, what are your thoughts on the strengths and weaknesses of this deck?
I think that any deck that has this much cycling in it and it is built around that is gonna organically see a lot of cards. And I know that when you were kind of working on categorizing this deck and figuring out how many of each of the different basics you had, by that, of course, I mean like the basic categories that we talk about later. It was hard to determine how many of them count as card draw, because so many of these cards have cycling on them. So they say the words draw a card somewhere in the text box, which can be a little confusing. But even though that isn't necessarily getting more card advantage, you are getting card selection. You're getting to look at a lot of cards. And so I think that's an easy strength for a deck such as this. I also think that it plays like a sneaky control deck.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't necessarily appear to be that when you first start going, because anybody who sees the Astral Slide or one of the other enchantments that does a similar thing comes down, goes, oh, he's going to cycle stuff, blink his creatures, and get value out of that. And you are going to do that. Mm-hmm. But there also are some pretty fantastic stacks pieces or control pieces that when you blink them every turn become very, very oppressive. So it does play like a control deck, and people are, I think, caught off guard by that quite a lot. Right. And it just gets such an enormous amount of value out of blinking creatures, because you can do it on each individual person's turn, and you have things that allow you to untap on people's turns. So like once you kind of get to that point, the amount of value that this deck creates really feels oppressive to the other people at the table, for sure.
Right. So
as far as weaknesses go, yeah, as far as weaknesses go, I think that once people know what you're doing, you're the target.
Oh.
And the reason that I say that is that my experience at commander tables, especially casual commander tables, is if we've established somebody as the control player, that person's probably I'm targeting that person, because I traditionally play mid-range strategies. So I know that in the long game, that control deck is eventually going to seize control of the game, and I'm not going to have any more fun. So really, once you get your engine going, I'm coming for you. And I think that a lot of other people who know what the engine is doing are probably going to do that as well. And you could say that about a lot of games. Like obviously we're playing Commander and you could be labeled as the threat at any point, but I really do think that, somebody sees an Astral Slide and a cycling Commander and goes, okay, I know what's about to happen. I'm coming for you now. I also think that because, and this is true about all blink decks, I think, is that because you're getting so many game actions with the ETBs, etc., that it really starts to create decision fatigue and confusion, where you're just trying to keep track of the various different triggers that are going on, and you may miss triggers and forget things that could happen or not see interactions, because it's like you're spending so much time managing everything that you're not seeing lines. This happens with any deck that has a lot of game actions, I think, but that can be really it makes the deck tough to pilot, I think.
Yeah. For sure. So actually, the way you brought that up, actually, I said that's actually one of the strengths. The fact that I have so many choices, I can always choose the right thing to do at that time. Because like I don't have to blink my creatures. I can blink your creatures. So you're like, oh, you're attacking me with this Ghalta? Bye-bye. It doesn't not like it's really difficult to kind of get through to me once I have some sort of board state that allows me to either get recurring value with ETBs or just protect myself from your creatures attacking me. And just having all those options, because like there's cards in here that might not do much in the game at all. Let's say if we're not running into very many, enchantments or something like that, I can cycle cards that deal with enchantments. There's and the fact that I can cycle cards that normally don't have cycling makes sky's the limit. So but I think one of the weaknesses to this deck is if I don't have any of the few key pieces that really make this deck hum, I'm doing nothing. Because paying 3 mana to cycle 1 card and not get anything extra besides a +1/+1 counter, I'm not doing much. So
right, when you put that through the other filter of would you pay 3 mana to give your commander +1/+1 and draw a card? You wouldn't.
Right.
You wouldn't. So if that's all you're getting out of it, yes, it starts to feel a little sluggish in that situation. And that, I mean, I can see that because it's got the hidden commander piece to it, and you have a great deal of redundancy built in for that.
Right.
Like, and you can see it in the deck list where you have other spells that do something similar. There's actually there's 2 cards that are practically identical in the deck, so that makes it a little easier. But then there's another one that does a kind of bad version of it. Enlightened Tutor's almost a 4th copy, and then a bunch of things that can bring it back from the graveyard if somebody does deal with it. So word to the wise out there in our listenerhood, play exile based removal.
You're right. I mean, I have exile based enchantment removal in here.
Yeah, but you do. You agree with me.
Well, it also helps that card cycles too.
Yes, of course. Like so many other cards in this deck, it's incrementally a decent card, and it also cycles, so it fits well into the deck. Okay, the next section is what we like to refer to as the basics. These are traditional card categories that just about every commander deck is going to want. It makes your decks more consistent. It just think of these as your fundamentals, the things that you kind of have to play in order to play the things that you want to play to do the fun stuff. So I'll slide it back over to Steve here to give us the number value, how many of each of the basic categories he has, and then we're going to break it down and talk about them.
All right, so these numbers might seem a little weird, because this was actually a lot more difficult to pick because cycling we kind of went over earlier. So I went with the route of not including any of the cards that said cycling, because my brain hurts. So. Card draw, we have 15 cards. Ramp,
still a lot.
Yeah. Ramp, we got 12. Single target interaction is 12. And mass interaction is 7. There's a lot of everything, isn't there, Tim?
There is. Like this when we think about like the number that we're supposed to have in each of the basic categories, it's immediately like home run. This is probably a solid deck at any table just because you are, you're sticking to your fundamentals out there.
Yeah. And here's the thing with my card draw, and we'll go into this a little bit more in a bit, but all my card draw is so repeatable, it's unreal. Like really repeatable. So, Tim, let's go ahead and just start going into those cards now.
This is the good part.
This is my favorite part. Tim, what card draw card did you pick?
Okay, so for this deck, and in a lot of deck, if you're not familiar with this card and you're in the colors, get a couple copies of this to slam in your deck. It's fantastic in Commander. I'm talking about Keruga the Macro Sage. So this is one of those companions that everyone was so mad about a few years ago, but we're not worried about that part about it here. It is just a 5 mana, 3 and 2 Simic hybrid for a 5/4 dinosaur hippo, so already hitting hard. But none of that matters. The important part is when Karuga enters, you draw a card for each other permanent you control with converted mana cost 3 or greater. So you've already talked about how the deck loves to get its engine pieces online. Astral Slide and its cheaper, and its cousin, what's the other one? Drift.
Astral Drift, yep.
Absolutely crucial for the deck, but a lot of other permanents are also going to have this. At the floor, you're looking at 1 or 2 cards. At the ceiling, it's maybe 4 or 5 at a time. And remember, for the low cost of cycling a single card with an Astral Slide out, you're blinking this and getting that draw effect each time. So, I mean, easy draw 3 cards every time you get almost every time it lands.
So you're saying paying 3 mana to draw 1 card now and then draw 5 cards at my end step? That's good.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Wow, interesting. Oh, interesting. I wonder why I put it in here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go into my pick, and I picked Toothy, the Imaginary Friend. It is partner with Pier, Imaginative Rascal. It's a 4 mana creature. It's a 1/1. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Toothy, and then when Toothy leaves the battlefield, draw cards for each +1/+1 counter on it. So I guess I should go over Pier then too, huh?
You can.
All right.
I was just gonna like, why don't you tell us why Toothy is so important for the deck, and then we'll come back to the other bit.
So here's the cool thing about Toothy. When you cycle a card, you're drawing a card. So he's going to get relatively big, relatively fast. And it says whenever it leaves the battlefield, it doesn't have to die. So I can blink Toothy and draw a whole bunch of cards immediately. So it's the same concept as Kyogre, but I get those cards immediately. And with its partner, Pier, it's getting 2 +1/+1 counters instead of 1 per card draw. So it also works great with Jo Grant because she gives herself +1/+1 counters. So I'm telling you, when this thing hits the battlefield, I'm drawing probably 15 cards.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you thought it was important, like if it was valuable enough to have Pier in the deck at all.
Pier is in the list, yes.
But I realize now that with Jo Grant getting counters, like, because I was looking through the list, it was like there aren't a lot of creatures here that care about counters, but your commander does.
Right.
So, and Pier, really, if you get Toothy, you get Pier, and vice versa. So really, like, if you have Pier on the battlefield first, and then you get Toothy, Toothy's getting counters twice as fast.
Or check this out. Let's say I'm at the point in the game where I don't need Pier anymore. I play Toothy and cycle Pier because I can.
Right, because it's a historic permanent.
Yeah, so like even if I don't need Pier as the counter doubler that it is, I still can just cycle it away.
That's great. And that I know we kind of have an inside joke here that, like, the fact that you can cycle it away, making it a good makes any card good. Like,
yep.
Oh, you can just cycle it away if you don't need it. So this deck, that's true about every card in it, or almost every
card imaginable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So Tim, your pick for the ramp section was quite interesting, and I'm all for it. So go ahead and tell me.
Absolutely had to talk about this card because I think that it's a newer card, and I think that it deserves attention in a lot of different decks that are similar to this. And I think everybody should not sleep on this and really spend some time looking at what it actually does. The card is Anti-Causal Vestige. This is a 6 mana Eldrazi from Edge of Eternity from EOE, and it warps for 4. Here's the important part: is that you get to warp it for 4, which allows you to cast it, and then it exiles itself at the end step, and then you can cast it later from exile for its full cost. So this says when this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Why, you might ask, did Tim put this in the ramp category? It could be in a number of different categories, but I want to introduce you to the floor of this card. If you have no other permanents in your hand, but you have lands. This is 4 mana to draw a card and put an extra land into play that turn. That is, I think, better than, well, it is comparable to Solemn Simulacrum.
Which is also in the list, by the way.
Right. And that's the floor of the card. That's the bare minimum that you're going to get out of it. Now, is there a scenario where you don't have any permanents in your hand and you're on turn 4? Sure. Yes, it can happen, but it rarely does, especially in a deck that sees so many cards.
Yep.
Chances are, and then everything from there goes up, meaning that you may draw a card and put an Astral Slide into play. You may draw a card and put anything that costs 4 or less, if that's how many lands you have out, and put that into play. And then later in the game, when you get to 6 and you get to more and more lands, you can blink this thing because, again, it's a leaves trigger.
I don't even even if I cycle something on the even if I pay 4 and then blink it out before the warp trigger tells it to go to exile, I get to keep it. I get to keep it. I always get to pay 4 for this guy. Always.
Right.
It's so good.
And again, if in this scenario where you don't have the blink available, you can play it for 4, get it out for 6 later. It's just sitting in your exile zone waiting to be cast later. I think it's a value piece, and I don't want to be reductive here, but it does all the things that you want to do. It draws you cards, allows you to cheat things into play. It has a leaves ability. It's actually a huge body as well. A 7/5 early in the game is nothing to it's nothing to forget about either. It's a very strong card.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So the card that I picked for ramp basically does something very similar to what Tim does. So I picked Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath. Okay, is a 3 mana Elder Giant. When he enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless if it's escaped. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life, draw a card, and you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield and then escape. So the reason why I picked this card is in Magic Christmas Land, which isn't that crazy. If I have a Astral Slide on the battlefield, with the escape, with the enters and dying, if it wasn't escape triggers on the stack, I can blink it and have it happen again. So in theory, if I have enough cycling cards, I can just gain 3 life, draw a card, and put a land from my hand onto the battlefield every turn. Well, I guess it would be every other turn, because if I do it on the end step, it would come back at the next end step. So maybe I could do it every turn.
Nope.
I'd have to.
Isn't it every turn? Yeah.
Yeah, because it would come back at the end step. So
yeah, and the nice thing about Uro is that land doesn't even come in tapped.
Nope.
So you actually are creating more velocity for yourself because you have more mana to then play the next cycling card. If you have another one in hand, so it's drawing you the card, gaining you the life, playing an extra land, which might get you the mana to the next cycling card. So it is Magic Christmas Land, but it's also not that far outside of the realm of possibility.
Do you know what else is crazy? I can cycle it, then just escape it.
Yep. And you put plenty of stuff in your graveyard that you may or may not ever need to get again. You do have a little bit of recursion in the deck, but it's not what the deck does. So you would feel much less bad about using the escape activation. I think with this
5 cards is not that hard to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So man, I just like this card a lot.
Yeah, very strong.
And honestly, the 3 life isn't crazy either. That's super useful,
especially if you're doing it multiple times a cycle. If you get 3 life, people look at it and they go, it's not a big deal. You pay that for certain lands to enter on tap. 3 life's no big deal. It's just a lightning bolt. But when it's 6 or 9 or 12, then you're starting to look at those numbers a little harder.
Things are getting kind of cool over there. And there's another card that just makes this card way better, and we'll talk about it later. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead into single targeted interaction. And Tim, you picked a doozy.
So I picked a doozy that did you count this in this category?
Yes.
So there's an argument to be made that this might actually be mass interaction. And I guess what I'm getting at is it's not single targeted interaction. It's multiple targeted interaction. but still, I put it in this category because I consider it spot removal, right?
Yeah,
Like
the reason why I put it
dealing,
here was because I'm choosing one target per person. Let's tell them what the card is first.
Yeah, so the card is Riptide Gearhulk. This is 5 mana, 1, 2 white, 2 blue for a 2/5 artifact construct with double strike and prowess. When this creature enters, for each opponent, put up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls into their library, third from the top. So you get to tuck it. Doesn't even go to their hand. You get to put it back into their library, which I find to be hilariously oppressive. Like, there's nothing more defeating than having your favorite thing that's on board right now get tucked into your damn library. Like, I find that so offensive, and I love that it's in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to really talk much about it later. I have 3 Panharmonicon effects in here.
Yep.
Okay.
So maybe it is a mass interaction spell at that point.
If I'm repeating this every turn, you can't win.
You're not keeping anything on board. That's right.
You'll never win. Like, it's not possible.
That's the kind of sneaky like control stuff that I'm talking about. This is exactly that example where if this card comes down and you're able to blink it effectively, even just once a turn, like once a turn cycle, this is still incredibly oppressive. More than once a turn cycle, very, very difficult to get around.
Oh my gosh. More than once a turn cycle. I want to scoop, and I'm the one that's playing the deck. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead into mine, and I have been digging this card a lot lately, and it is Sejiri Shelter. It is a 2 mana instant. Target creature you control gains protection from a color of your choice until end of turn, and it's also an MDFC land. This protects my commander, or it gets my commander through to your face.
Yep.
This card, and I can't talk about how awesome this card is. Because protection is such a powerful tool if used properly. And when it's only protection for a turn, that means you're not going to be potentially screwing yourself over by trying to target yourself like with your things if it's permanent. The fact that it's only until end of turn is kind of really nice. I can't make enough praises about this card.
I love it that it is a sneaky pick that's like, it's just in your land base. Like, it's an MDFC, and it is a protection piece to save your commander from spot removal, but it also wins you the game under the right circumstances. So I mean, there's a lot of good options in those MDFC categories for doing something similar to this, which would definitely highly encourage people to consider running these in your deck if you're not already. Like, finding the MDFCs that even if all they do is add a protection piece for your commander, because what is the game about, right? The game for most of us, especially at the casual tables, it's about getting our commander out so we can do fun stuff. And that means that if I'm sitting across from you and your commander's out, I'm gonna shoot at your commander. So having protection pieces that are incidental like this just make it easier for you to have fun with your deck. So it's a great include.
Alrighty, so we're gonna go into Mass Interaction. Tim, this card's just hilarious.
I love it. I love it because it's it's a 5 mana board wipe in white, and there's loads of those, but this one fits into this deck because it has cycling. We're talking about Spectacular Pileup. So this is 3 mana and 2 white from the often maligned Ether Drift set. It's a sorcery that reads, all creatures and vehicles lose indestructible until end of turn, then destroy all creatures and vehicles. You can cycle it for 2. So 5 mana Wrath. Also has cycling, but it is a good Wrath. It's a Wrath that takes indestructible away, gets around indestructible, and wipes the board. So I think it's worth it.
You know what I like about this card the most? It stops Heroic Intervention from working. You can't protect your board with Heroic Intervention because it's just going to lose the indestructibility anyway.
Like, right.
This card's great. And the fact that it has cycling. Just chef's kiss.
Right. Which perfect means fit. If you don't need it, you can discard it and get a new card.
Cycling's such a good ability. Wizards of the Coast. Cycling. I do. Oh my God, so much. Wizards of the Coast. We want more cycling in our life, okay? Tim says no, but I do. I can. I'm too lazy to ride a bike, so I'm gonna cycle in Magic. Okay.
Oh yeah. No thanks.
No thanks. All right. So we're gonna go into my mass interaction, and this is one of those stack pieces that Tim was talking about earlier. We're talking about Lavinia of the 10th. She is 3, a white and a blue, legendary creature, human soldier, protection for bread. But who cares? When she enters the battlefield, to taint each non-land permanent your opponent's control with mana value 4 or less. So detain says until your next turn, those permanents can't attack or block, and their activated abilities can't be activated. How many creatures do a lot of people run that cost 4 or less?
I would say a lot, quite a lot.
Yeah, and mana dorks are they're good, right?
And mana rocks.
Oh, gross! I didn't even think about that. Gross! Why did I do this to people?
This card is very oppressive, and again, it's much more repeatable. So when you can blink at it. Yeah,
it's so repeatable. It's unreal.
It's a soft lock,
and it says it really opponents. Like, it doesn't care about my stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, this card is dirty. I'm gonna have to take a shower after this because I will do this to people. And here's the cool thing about this deck: I can intentionally cycle this away and not look at it ever again if I feel like the power level of the table is too low. Like, if I feel like I'm sitting too high, I can just cycle away the stuff that I think is too powerful or unnecessary. And that's one thing that this deck can do, and it's a lot of fun. I can kind of ebb with the flow, you know? Because there is mean cards in here. For instance, this one. But I also just don't have to play them. I can cycle them away because cycling is amazing.
It is, and that's an interesting point, and I don't often think about that, but I think that I know we've talked about this plenty of times where it's like I don't want to stomp people in that way. Like, if I'm sitting at a table and everybody else there is, and I end up in a bad matchup where everybody seems much more low powered than me, I don't just want to mop the floor with them. That isn't fun for me. I want everybody to kind of feel like their deck is doing something first. So being able to kind of shift with that, it's an interesting kind of sneaky strength of the deck for sure.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. The next section is what we call the deck objectives. So we like to ask ourselves, what are the goals of the deck? Kind of a point A to point B. What is the roadmap of how this deck can be successful? We already talked about the basics, the fundamentals. So this is kind of the advanced stuff. So I'm going to let Steve break down 4 specific objectives that this deck tries to achieve during its gameplay. And then we will go through and talk about cards that we really like from the list that kind of exemplify those objectives. So what do you have for these deck objectives?
All right, so the first objective, and honestly the most important one, is when I cycle, this happens too. The second objective is the cards that just cycle themselves, because I don't always want to get rid of the historic stuff. So having cards that just cycle as well is also important. Because historic things are important, let's talk about the great historic stuff that's in the deck, because that's how I win, right? And the fourth objective is actually how I win.
Okay.
So, let's go ahead and go into the first card. The card you picked, I feel like could have been in 3 of the 4 categories here.
Easily. And a bunch up top. And a bunch of the ones in the basics as well.
All of the ones up in the basics.
I feel like Steve lets me talk about this card every time it's in a deck, and we put it in a lot of decks recently, and spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it again very soon.
very soon.
It just
I'll talk about it then.
Okay, well that's fair that you've let me talk about it for your decks. I'll let you talk about it for mine. So the card that we're gushing about is Monument to Endurance. This is easily my favorite card from the set Ether Drift. I built a number of standard decks around it. Any commander that cares about discarding cards, and cycling certainly does, should be playing this card. It may seem underpowered at a commander table, but I promise that it's not. It really, like, the incidental value that you get off of this over time is enormous. Even if it was just the one category, I would play this card, but it's more than one. So Monument to Endurance is a 3-mana artifact that reads, when you discard a card, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn, either draw a card, make a treasure, or each opponent loses 3 life. So this is card draw, ramp, and a win condition rolled into one. And just think, if you discard a card on each of your opponent's turn and yours, you're doing 12 to the table every cycle. So that's only about 3 turns to probably end the game. So that third, don't sleep on that third ability. I prioritize it as much as I can. Drawing cards is nice, but beating your opponents is the objective of the game. So Monument to Endurance, high on my list of pet cards. Obvious include in this deck. Enough said.
One of the cool things about it is I'm not going to want to play this pretty early, right? Because I want to have this when I'm like really revving my engines. And if I have the 6th Doctor out, guess what? I get 2 copies, Tim.
You too. Mm-hmm.
So at that point, like, if I get to plan differently, one gets to deal 3 damage and the other one gets to refill my hand. If I'm doing multiples a turn, like it just does all the magical things that this deck wants to do. And this card, I just love every time I get to see it on the battlefield. It just feels great to have.
It does. It performs. Like, do not doubt it. Like, this card will do work on if your deck is built around discarding at all. The card gets an enormous amount of value.
All right, so we're gonna go into my pick for this category, and this one doesn't really seem like it would fit all that much, but it fits in way better than you would think. The card I picked is Al Hemritt's Archive. It's a 5-mana legendary artifact. If you would gain life, gain twice that much life instead. This is the card I was talking about with Uro.
Yep.
If you would draw a card except for the first one you draw each turn, during your draw step, draw 2 cards instead. So what makes this card so good is when I'm cycling 1 card, I'm drawing 2 instead. So it makes all the cycling cards that I have are now officially card draw. And boy, let me tell you, it's repeatable. It is so repeatable. I just get to look at so many cards. Then now it just fuels the engine so much, because now that I can cycle the worst card in my hand, get 2, now I get to cycle the worst of even more cards, because I get to gain cards. And having 2 copies of this is silly. Cycle 1, draw 4.
Yeah, I mean that's really over the top at that point. But yeah, it has that similar impact, except that, like, when Monument's only drawing you 1 additional card, this is drawing you an additional card every single time that you cycle. So again, the incremental value of this is huge, which is why it costs more to cast. But still, it's also a historic permanent, so you get all of those other synergies that you're looking for, that you could cycle it and get it back later, that you can get multiple copies of it if you cast it with the 6th Doctor. Yes, excellent include.
I love that card. Alrighty, Tim. What are the cards that cycle themselves? What card did you pick here?
So my pick, actually, now the longer we've had this conversation and I've been staring at this card on my list, the whole time I've been thinking, I don't think this actually meets the qualifier for what you were talking about, because you don't necessarily want to cycle this card. You want this card on the battlefield, but it does have cycling. So the card that I picked is Scrounging Skyray. This is an uncommon from Ether Drift, just 1 and a blue for a 1/2 flying fish pirate. Which sounds like a delicious dish at a restaurant, a fish pirate. 1/2 Flying Fish Pirate, whenever you discard one or more cards, put that many counters on this card. So it's not exactly the same as your commander, but it's also getting counters when you're cycling cards because you're getting the discard clause there. So, I mean, I imagine there's worlds where you could cycle this because you feel like you get more value out of it, but this feels very much like I want this on the field. And because it's going to be another one of those things that helps you close out games. So maybe it doesn't meet the qualifier for this category technically, but
100% does, because there's times where it's like, okay, I just lost my commander for the third time. I need to now keep this card in my hand for my Astral Slide to work. So there will be times where I do keep this and intentionally cycle it. And also, like with cards like Fluctuator, where cycling costs 2 less, this now just cycles for 0. Which can be very, very important, especially if I'm getting attacked with 10 2/2 zombies tokens.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, doesn't it?
It does happen sometimes. So, no, this is exactly what I was talking about. And then the card that I picked is just a really good card in general. It should be played more often. It's Nimble Obstructionist. It's a 2 and a blue creature, blue bird wizard. It has flash and flying. It can cycle for 3. When you cycle this card, counter target activated and triggered ability you don't control. So this thing is a protection piece on top of just cycling it as a whole. And the best part about this is you can't counter that unless if you have something like Nimble Obstructionist or Stifle. Because I'm not casting this card. This is just, I cycle, this happens. So that's what makes it so powerful, is because the fact that it can't get countered and I can be a total jerk and counter your cracking of a fetch if I really wanted to.
Yep.
Because I'm a monster.
And really, like, there are a fair amount of just activated and triggered abilities that that really are game breaking. That really are exactly what if somebody's a commander has a really powerful triggered ability that draws a bunch of cards, makes their team real big. There's a number of different things that might happen that you can really hose somebody by countering an activated or triggered ability, because it's like the Spanish Inquisition, right? Like nobody expects it, and so they don't play around it. I know I get got by this kind of stuff all the time because I am, I'm a goofy mid-range player and I'm just trying to hit your face with big monsters. And sometimes I go, oh, I got all my triggers ready to go. And somebody nimbly obstructs me. And I go, okay, so I guess I don't do anything this turn.
Thank you.
And it feels real bad.
Yeah. By the way, something I wanted to mention, this deck is the bane of the existence of my Phage deck.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Oh, is that a Phage on your battlefield? Oh yeah, you can keep it. By the way, I'm gonna blink it.
I don't care.
I'm just gonna blink it and then you lose.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. That's even ruder.
Yeah. Yeah. You hit me with the Phage. I'm gonna counter the me lose and then blink it so you lose.
So you lose. Perfect.
That's Uno reverse if I've ever heard of it.
Salt in the wound. Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we're gonna this one is kind of like just like a broad generalization. We're gonna talk about, the great historic spells in the list, because we want to talk about more cards. So Tim, what's the great historic spell that you picked?
I picked this because when we were talking about the deck, this came up as a where the hell does this go? Where do we put this? What category does this go in? So when the category of the objective of I just want to play good historic cards, here it is. This is the card for us then. Yeah. So I'm talking about Kadama of the East Tree. This is the 6 mana Kadama, 6/6 reach legendary spirit. When another permanent you control enters, if it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability, ability, you may put a permanent card with equal or lesser mana value onto the battlefield. It also has partner, but that's not relevant here. So this is complicated, and if you're not super savvy with the way that the games of the rule work, or the rules of the game work, this can get a little confusing a little quick. And I'm not going to try to oversimplify it for you here today. Just trust us when we say that this creates an enormous amount of value. This makes it so that when you're playing a land, you get to play another one. When you have a creature entering because you blinked it, now you get to put something else from your hand onto the battlefield. And it could be any number of things, but really you're having a lot of enters effects. So this is going to get triggered a lot. So you're just going to get an enormous amount of value out of this card. It's a fantastic historic permanent and pretty great if it comes out after the Sixth Doctor.
That's pretty good after the Sixth Doctor, isn't it? Man, I can't
just dump in your hand at that point, like. Blah.
But with how much card draw this thing has, like, let's say there's the what's it called, the Great Hinge, or
Guardian Project
that's out too, or Asika or something crazy, where it's just like I'm getting all of the things all of the time, and it's a beautiful day indeed. So the card I picked is more of it's a great blink target. I chose Biza, the Bounding Spring. It is 2 and 2 white. It's a legendary creature, elemental elk. When Biza, the Bounding Spring enters, create a treasure if your opponent controls more lands than you. You gain 4 life if your opponent has more life than you. Create 2 1/1 blue fish creature tokens if your opponent controls more creatures than you. And draw a card if an opponent has more cards in hand.
Is that 4 triggered ability?
It is. It's 4. I don't know how often I'm getting all 4, but if I don't have
almost never is what I'm gonna guess. Like, this is a standard staple, and really like it, but it is very good in control builds because you're not going wide most of the time.
Eventually, I can. But it's not happening early.
That's not the point of Beza, right? Like, this card stabilizes you. This card stabilizes. Like, if you are behind on creatures, now you've got a 3-body board. If you're behind on life, it catches you up. If you're behind on cards, it draws you a card. If you're behind on lands, it gets you a treasure. So if you're behind on all of those things, you get all of those things. So it's a stabilizer card, and this is one of those things where it's like it's a really good blink target because you're probably able to sneak a little bit of value out of it, get like one of those triggers each blink. Like, you can kind of game it a little bit, right? But at some point you're so far ahead that this card becomes useless, but it's not the point. The point is
but when it is card. Useless, I can try to return it to my hand and cycle it.
And then you can cycle it away and draw a new card?
What? Oh, it's crazy.
It's overpowered.
It's so good. Wow. I don't know how many times we're going to say this. In fact, I'm probably going to put a counter up on the video. How many times I say, man, cycling's good.
Yeah. Or that, a card is good because you can cycle it away.
Yeah. So we're at like 8 now. Already. We're going to go into how this deck can actually win. And I think our picks are quite clever. Yes. So Tim, what's the card you picked?
So I was looking at this card and I was going to say, well, this doesn't have that quality where it's good because you can cycle it away. And then I read the whole card and it has cycling.
It does. It's so stupid.
It's not a historic permanent.
But I can cycle it.
But it's got cycling naturally. The card I'm talking about is Ominous Seas. This is a blue enchantment, 1 and a blue, so 2 mana enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, put a 4 shadow counter on Ominous Seas, and then at any time, at instant speed, you can remove 8 4 shadow counters to make an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. So this is just paying you off in the long run for drawing an enormous amount of cards, giving you giant creatures with which to end the game when you need to. It's not necessarily what the deck is trying to do, but really, I've seen it win games. Like, being able to get to those 8/8s at the end of the game. This is just sitting back there gathering counters like, oh, it's got 24 counters on it. I can make 3 8/8s on your end step and blink all your creatures out. And now the game is over. Yep. So yeah, this is very it goes under the radar, I think,
Oh
early in
yeah.
the game where they're like, oh, 8 takes a while to get to. And then you draw 4 cards on each player's turn and you're like, oh no, I have 16 on my turn now. Like,
Mm.
oh, that didn't take
by the way,
long.
there's 20 other, counters on this. Yeah. This card, it just overperforms because no one's ever going to destroy it. And if they are, usually by the time they're ready to destroy it, there's at least 8 counters on it. So I'm at least getting an 8/8 for 2 mana. And I'm going to want to draw cards anyway. So why not get the added benefit? And honestly, late in the game where like I'm getting close to winning, I can just cycle it and blink one of your creatures out of my way. Like
What do you know?
it turns out cycling's good. Ding. Alrighty. So the card that I picked, the card that I picked is kind of funny. So it is Aganasaur Rex. Okay. The name is weird and its art is weirder. It is 3 and 2 green creature dinosaur. It's a 8/8 with trample. That's all it does, guys. No, I'm just kidding. It can cycle for 2 and a green. When you cycle this card, put 2+1/+1 counters on one target creature or vehicle. It gains trample and indestructible until end of turn.
Mm.
Boy, let me tell you, Jo Grant gets big. She gets chunky, and she doesn't have keywords. So I can be like, oh, I'm gonna swing this, 25/25 at you. Oh, does she have any keywords? No. Okay, I'll block with this 1/1. Like she has trample. It's so good. It's also a protection piece. It's crazy.
It is, and I'm so glad that you put this in here in this spot because when we were preparing for the episode today, I had to ask. I didn't understand why this was there, and it's such a good explanation that you don't necessarily consider this a win condition, but what we're really saying here is that Jo Grant is a win condition. That Jo Grant is not just the commander in this deck; it also is incidentally becoming gigantic, and once it gets to the magic number 2021, you can literally one-shot people.
Mhm.
So here, this gives you a sneaky kind of evasion that is not present on the field at any moment up until the moment where it kills you, and it also gives her indestructible to boot. So, and she's getting like 3 bigger because cycle the card and it gets 2 counters. So it's like, oh, it's not even a lethal threat. It's a 20/20 at this point. I'll block with a 1/1 and I'm fine. Oh nope, now it's a 23/23 trample and you're dead.
Yeah, and the best part is like if I have an astral slide out too, and I blink your creature, all the trample damage goes through to you because she has trample now.
Yep.
So, if you are going to block Jo Grant, block with more than one creature, and it probably still won't be enough.
Yeah.
So, sorry guys, you're just screwed. I don't know what to tell you.
So that is the list of deck objective cards. That was a lot of fun. We're going to move now into what we call the honorable mentions. There's always cards left over in the list that we wanted to talk about. We didn't have a chance to. Steve left a little note here that there are so many cards that he wants to talk about in this section, but we do have a finite amount of time. So we're just going to pick one each to talk about that didn't get mentioned earlier because we just had something else we want to talk about. Just some cards we really like in the list and why. And I'll let Steve go first this time. What's your honorable mention for Jo Grant and the Sixth Doctor?
So this honorable mention is absolutely ridiculous. And if there was any card that just fuels this engine, this card does it. And it is called New Perspectives. It is a 6 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, I draw 3 cards. And as long as I have 7 or more cards in my hand, I may pay 0 rather than paying cycling costs. When everything is historic and can cycle, Jo Grant will kill you.
Yeah, this is, and I think that there's an I don't want to say that this is win. I don't think that this is win more. I think that there's a way of looking at it that is like once you got to that point, you are already winning anyway. But really, this is the like nitrous in the engine piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like you put this hits the battlefield with your other pieces in play, you have effectively won. You might have put this in the win conditions category, but you wanted to talk about the dinosaurs. So
Mhm.
But I think that you could easily make the argument that this doesn't win you the game on the spot, but it creates a level of value
Right.
acceleration that means you're very likely to win after it hits the field.
And what I like about it so much is um the fact that it draws 3 cards upon entering. So as long as I have 5 cards in my hand when I cast this spell, it's immediately activated. Because if it didn't have that draw 3 cards, this card shouldn't cost 6 to begin with, but um the fact that it fills your hand up to 7, and as long as you stay at 7, you're golden grabs. Yeah, this card's great. I can't.
Amazing.
And it's only good in decks like this.
Right. So it's not even like a financially expensive card, is it?
15 cents.
Yeah. Excellent. Amazing. My favorite kind of card.
Alrighty, Tim. I didn't even see the card that you picked, and I'm so happy that you picked it because I kind of wanted to talk about this card, and you're doing it for me. So, Tim,
Yep.
what do you got?
So this is another what you might call stacks or control piece that ultimately is similar to the other ones that we talked about. I just like to include it because it's from Lord of the Rings. The card is Monstrosity of the Lake. This is a 5-mana 4/6 Kraken that's legendary, which means it gets cycling, except it already had it because it's got island cycling of 2. When Monstrosity of the Lake enters, you may pay 5 generic mana. If you do, tap all creatures your opponents control and then put a stun counter on each of those creatures. Yeah, so there's a couple of pieces why this is so just remarkably powerful. Like the paying the 5 extra mana feels like a bit of a downside, but when you're blinking this, you're really just paying its mana value again to get this effect additionally each time. So you could get this onto the field early, not pay the 5 the first time, blink it later, and then you're tapping everybody down and probably getting in a lethal attack. So the fact that it taps all creatures your opponent control and puts stun counters on them, neither of which target, there's just I don't believe that there's anything that gets around that other than having abilities to untap, and stun counters get around that to some extent because if you have an untap ability on the creature, the stun counter dispels that the first time. You'd have to do it multiple times. So really it clears the way for you to get in for the win, which is I think an important piece of the puzzle for this deck to actually get the W.
Well, what I like about it is like with Lavinia, I have to do every turn. I have to target Lavinia or I'm not going to be able to lock down the board. With Monstrosity of the Lake, I target once, pay once. I don't have to do it for 2 turns.
Probably, yep. Unless somebody has like a really good pop-off turn, if you still have the option to do it again the following turn.
I do have the option to do it again, right?
But if nobody like built back up, now you get to take the turn off to set up, maybe actually take somebody out. Yeah, like the kind of tapping it down and putting the stun counter gives you more time to do what you need to do and set up.
Yeah. Alrighty. So now it is time to go into cards that didn't make this cut, but these are cards that we want to think about because sometimes you just forget cards exist. So Tim, what's the card that you picked?
Sometimes you don't know. I got you good last time with a card that you didn't even knew exist. I didn't do it this time, but that's my goal. Is I really want to find cards that you didn't consider at all, just because they may not have been, they may not have been apparently good. And this one I think is probably not apparently good. I think that you could look past this card and go, I'm not so sure, but I do think that there's a couple of reasons why I think this might be worth looking at. So the first one is that the card has cycling, which we have established is good. The card is Waxen Shape Thief. This is also from Aether Drift, 3 and a blue for a flash clone, but that can only clone creatures or artifacts that you control. So it is a shapeshifter, technically 0/0. It has flash, and you may have this creature enter as a copy of an artifact or creature you control. Now, tell me if I'm wrong about this, but if you blink this, you can choose a different target, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's part of the reason why I thought that this would be an interesting thing to look at, because you could cast it early to copy a value piece like a ramp thing. I know that creature's legendary now I think about it, but Solemn Simulacrum, Andy Causal Vestige, like, any of those things that you're trying to get an incidental value off of. And then later, once you've got one of your engine pieces like Monument to Endurance or Panharmonicon, you can blink it, and now you've got another copy of one of those. And once it becomes an artifact, it is a lot harder to remove. Well,
It really
maybe
is.
not a lot harder. It different. Like, artifact hate is not as common as creature hate. So if this comes back in as an artifact, remarkably changes the dynamic. So I don't know. It kind of feels like redundancy in a good way, that it's giving you the option to get more copies of the other pieces that you have on board. So yeah, it's interesting.
And when it's not good, I can just cycle it away.
We got there.
We did it. We said the thing. Alrighty. So that's such a good choice. I didn't know this card existed, because when we originally built it, I think Aether Drift was just coming out and it wasn't out
That's right.
yet.
Because Aether Drift was the set for Chicago. So we were building it on the way there, and maybe we had seen some of the cards, but
yeah. So the card that I picked, and this is just one of those things that I forgot existed, and it is Sevinne's Reclamation. It's a 2 and a white. It's a sorcery. Return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. The spell. If this spell was cast from your graveyard, you may copy this spell and may choose new targets for the copy. Turns out a lot of my value engine costs less than 3.
Yep.
And
a whole lot of it.
A whole lot of Monument of Endurance, Astral Slide, Astral Drift, the blue and the blue one that I have to pay to instantly blink. Drake Haven. Again, I'm looking for all sorts of cards that I wanted to, even Cloud of Fairies or something like that, or Fipplethip, or like Lauren of the Third Path, Moonblessed Cleric. Like, there's so many cards. Right. Like, Uro for all you like. Uro! Like, there was so many cards that cost 3 or less. Fluctuator, like Monument of Endurance, Ozolith the Sheltered Spire. And the list goes on. Like,
did you mention Monument to Endurance?
Monument of Endurance, or to Endurance. Sorry, Ominous Seas. There's just so many things that I can get back after cycling them. It's unreal, and I can't believe I didn't think about it. And it has flashback too.
Yeah, but it doesn't have cycling.
It doesn't have cycling, so it makes it less good. It makes it way less good. Yeah.
This is great. I definitely agree that this should get some consideration, especially with the flashback cost. Like this card has proven to be a pretty valuable card in any deck that has white in it that's playing with permanents, which sounds funny to say out loud, but this really is a permanent heavy deck because it's trying to get those pieces that are giving you that incremental value. So having things that allow you to get those things back when people inevitably don't play exile based removal and just destroy things instead. This is gonna make those players very sad.
Man, I think I've said all that I can think I said.
Did we say that cycling was good?
No, we did.
Did we say that Monument to Endurance is good?
Yeah, I think we did that.
Okay. So y'all, cycling is good, and Monument to Endurance is good. Just to wrap things up for today. All right, friends, opponents, our time as companions has come to an end. For now. Thank you so very kindly for spending time with us on the Head Games Commander podcast. Remember that you can support this show and all of our other content by watching this and our other videos on the YouTube page, checking out our streams on Twitch and YouTube. You can find those links in the description.
But before we scoop things up, we want to hear from you, the Think Tank. What cards would you play in Joe Grant and the Sixth Doctor? What commanders would you like to see us build and spotlight in the future? And I mind you, it doesn't have to be recent. So if there's an oldie but anything. If there's an oldie but a goodie that you want us to look at, just let us know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for playing along with us and have a wonderful day. Bye.
LOZ!
Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you like what you saw, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you really want to see the 6th Doctor and Joe Grant duke it out with some amazing other commanders, just click this video right here.